Good afternoon, I'm Charmaine Colvin and you are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to Indians to revive working from home, buy less gold and limit foreign travel to deal with a surge in global energy prices because of the continuing crisis in the Middle East. Modi said the austerity measures, reminiscent of the COVID era, would reduce India's fuel use and help save foreign exchange. India imports 90% of its oil and its crude bill has seen a multi-billion-dollar spike since the US and Israel's war on Iran with the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow Gulf choke point, shut for more than 2.5 months now. Analysts described Modi's appeal, made at a public event in the southern city of Hyderabad on Sunday, as the most drastic so far. Patriotism is not only about the willingness to sacrifice one's life on the border. In these times, it is about living responsibly and fulfilling our duties to the nation in our daily lives, Modi said. In the current situation, we must place great emphasis on saving foreign exchange, he added. Urging people to use public transport such as the metro, Modi suggested people carpool to conserve fuel. He also asked farmers to reduce use of fertiliser by half. The effect was visible on Indian markets on Monday. Analysts say Modi's comments was one of the reasons the benchmark Sensex index fell more than 1,000 points in early trade amid fears of prolonged economic disruption. India has so far avoided raising petrol and diesel prices at the pump, despite mounting pressure on state-run fuel retailers. But the prolonged conflict and disruption to oil supplies have begun to strain the broader economy. The impact has been visible in a number of industries, with hundreds of thousands of jobs at risk in factories that make glass and plastic products and tiles. Dwindling fertiliser supplies have raised concerns about lower farm produce and higher food prices. But the effect has been most stark on the Indian rupee, which has hit record lows in recent weeks, increasing the cost of imports and adding pressure on inflation. The cancellation of a crucial exam held earlier in May for admission to medical colleges over allegations of a paper leak has sparked protests in the Indian capital Delhi. The National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test undergraduate, known as NEET-UG, is the gateway to studying medicine in India and is required for joining medical colleges across the country. Nearly 2.28 million candidates wrote the exam on the 3rd of May at more than 5,000 centres across India. But within days, allegations of a paper leak sparked anger amongst students and parents, with protests and political backlash mounting through the week. On Tuesday, the federal government's National Testing Agency, NTA, which conducts the exam, said that based on its findings and an ongoing investigation, the present examination process could not be allowed to stand. Fresh dates for a retest have not been announced yet, raising concerns among students and parents over possible delays to the admission process. Indian media reports suggest investigators believe the alleged leak may have originated in the western state of Rajasthan days before the exam was held. A senior Rajasthan police official told news agency ANI that they were looking at a guess paper, which was allegedly circulated ahead of the test. A guess paper is a set of questions that teachers or coaching institutes predict could appear in an exam based on past papers and exam patterns. The official said that the guess paper this year contained around 410 questions, about 120 of which are said to have appeared in the chemistry section of the actual exam. The case has now been handed over to federal investigators at the Central Bureau of Investigation. The NTA has said the decision to cancel the exam has been taken in the interest of students and in recognition of the trust on which the national examination system rests. In less than a month from now, India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is expected to release its final report on the crash of London-bound Air India flight AI-171 that went down seconds after takeoff from Ahmedabad in western India on the 12th of June 2025. As the world awaits the findings on the devastating tragedy that claimed 260 lives, a cascade of incredible challenges has deepened the crisis at Air India. A leadership vacuum, mounting financial losses, airspace closures, and a Middle Eastern fuel shock have put the carrier's ambitious turnaround into question. A spate of recent incidents have also cast a shadow on the safety and operational track record of the airline. Last month, Air India's Chief Executive Officer, Campbell Wilson, resigned mid-term as losses for the year ending March 2026 reportedly hit $2.4 billion. Air India is currently the biggest loss-making entity within the Tata Group, which took over the ailing carrier from the government in 2022, and a point of growing consternation for the Tata board. According to local media, the board met last week and is said to have discussed several cost-cutting measures and warned staff of tough times. The arrival of senior Singapore Airlines leadership at the group's headquarters in Mumbai City in April, meanwhile, sparked talks of the latter deepening its involvement in the beleaguered carrier. Singapore Airlines is a 25.1% shareholder in Air India. Last year, India's aviation regulator also uncovered 51 safety violations at Air India as part of its annual audit of the country's airlines. 7 safety-related lapses were of the highest level. Experts say the impact of the events of today, including high fuel costs, currency depreciation and route closures, will also be felt more acutely in the months to come. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East was a chance for Air India to make a greater dent in the international market, given that the stranglehold of the Gulf carriers had weakened. But it is a missed opportunity given that availability of aircraft remains a big constraint for the airline. Going ahead, what the final investigation into last year's deadly crash potentially reveals will also determine how damaging the consequences will be for the airline and its reputation. The United States has said it was imposing visa restrictions on 13 people linked to Indian online pharmacy KS International Traders for selling counterfeit prescription pills laced with fentanyl. The Mumbai-based company's website, as listed in US government records, could not be accessed. No names or contacts of its senior executives were available. India's foreign and health ministries did not immediately respond to requests for comment. KS International Traders generated revenue through trafficking in fentanyl, which President Donald Trump has designated as a weapon of mass destruction, the State Department said. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid used for pain relief, but it is tightly restricted in the United States because of its high potency and its role in a surge in overdose deaths linked to illicit use. Illicit fentanyl is killing too many Americans. Those complicit in poisoning Americans will be denied entry to the United States, State Department spokesperson Thomas Pigott said in a statement. This is not the first time that the US government has pulled up KS International Traders. The online pharmacy, along with 2 Indian nationals, was sanctioned last year for supplying counterfeit fentanyl-laced pills. The company sold hundreds of thousands of counterfeit prescription pills containing illicit fentanyl to people in the United States, harming families and communities nationwide, the State Department said on Tuesday. The United States last year announced a new visa restriction policy aimed at stopping the flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs into the country. And finally, when Indian model Bhavita Mandava arrived at this year's Met Gala, the reaction to her look was unusually divided. From a distance, her Chanel outfit looked disarmingly simple, a sheer zip-up jacket and what appeared to be a pair of low-slung jeans. Around her, the usual theatre unfolded, sculpted gowns and silhouettes, outfits that declared themselves before their wearers could. In comparison, Mandava's look seemed to hold back, except it didn't. The denim was not denim at all, but silk muslin, printed and constructed to mimic it, a detail later noted by fashion websites. The simplicity, in other words, was carefully engineered. Mandava, who was raised in Hyderabad in southern India, was discovered in a New York subway station in 2024. She later told British Vogue that the outfit was a way of carrying that memory forward, transforming the clothes tied to her discovery into something more elevated but still recognisably hers. And that's all from me. You have been listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Everything's fine on 93.9 Dublin South FM.